Hey, it's Cyrus Gadsden, and at Stock Starter Kit, I would like to talk to you about how to identify great stock investments so that you may build wealth for yourself and achieve financial security. It's a skill that you can use now and in the future. It's a gift that keeps on giving, and the potential is really limitless. After spending the past 10 years speaking with literally dozens of investors, reading dozens of books, and building a portfolio of my own, I realized that most young guys haven't figured out the investment process for themselves. Because this is such a huge need, and because I've met so many guys who haven't had the time and don't understand the process, I decided to create an in-depth training program specifically designed to walk you through the process of investing or identifying great investments and turning them into a strong financial foundation so that you can live the life you have dreamed about. But first, I'd like to tell you about myself. When I first got a job, I had no idea what to do with my money. I knew I wanted to invest, but I didn't know what investing really meant. I heard the smart guys around me throw around terms like small cap and PE ratio, but the hell if I knew what they really meant. My parents never really had any money either. They fought to make ends meet and lived paycheck to paycheck. They couldn't guide me in the process. They couldn't offer me any insights because they didn't know. I was on my own. What I did have, however, was a will to figure it out, and that's what I set about doing. So my story begins in my freshman year of college, when I had to first confront the realities of having money and not having money. Like most kids, I never really had to manage money up until that point. But once I got to college, I had a rude awakening. One day, one of my buddies said he was going to make a run to the store in the afternoon. So me and a couple of the other guys in the dorm thought it would be good to take advantage of the free ride. So we hopped in the back of his raggedy beat-up Chevy pickup and tagged along. I knew what I needed. I think I needed hot dogs, hot dog buns, beer, ramen, pizza, the stuff that, basically all the crap that guys eat in college, right? So when we get to the store, I'm actually the last one to check out. It didn't take long for the other guys to get what they needed. And so here I am with my bag of groceries or cart of groceries, checking out, and of course my friends are giving me a hard time. Hurry up. I said, I'm hurrying up. I'm trying. I'm ready to get out of here too. I unloaded my groceries at the counter, and the thing is, I didn't know how much money I had in my checking account, but I knew I had enough for whatever I was buying. I think it was like a $30 worth of groceries. So the cashier puts the last of my groceries, the 6-pack, in the bag, and I give her my card and she swipes it. It's denied. She looks at me and says, "Sir, do you have another card we can use?" I said, that's strange. That one should work fine. Maybe there's something wrong with the magnetic strip. Can you swipe it again? Denied. This can't be happening, I thought. My mom had said she was going to transfer some money earlier in the day, and she was normally reliable about that stuff. Can you swipe it again, I asked. Trying not to roll her eyes too obviously, she hastily swiped my card once again. Denied. To add to the momentary crisis, all of my friends were standing right there. They all saw this happen. And the store was actually quite busy, so there was a line forming behind me. It seemed like literally everybody in the store was staring at me, waiting for me to make a move. In desperation, I pulled out another credit card that I actually had never used before. I think my mom gave it to me for an emergency, or I wasn't quite sure whether or not what the balance was, and I didn't know anything about it, but I was desperate, so I gave it to her. It was denied. I really wanted to disappear. I wanted to die at that point. I hung my head and all I could muster was, "I'm sorry." I walked past the groceries that she had put in the bag. I walked past my friends. I just walked into the parking lot. I'll never forget that experience. What did it teach me? I'll stop the music here because this is very important. I learned that we are all ultimately responsible for our financial lives. Not only is it important to keep track of our spending, but we must go further and plan for the future. As men, we have a unique responsibility to provide resources for our families. If you don't take action, you're at the mercy of the world. And hey, the world doesn't care about you. If you don't do it, then it's not going to get done. It's that simple. My breakthrough came several years later in my first year of graduate school. I had been studying economics and investment theory for a few years on my own and in my free time. I knew a bunch of stuff and I knew concepts and some of the language, but I didn't know how to piece all of them together. I didn't have a framework to organize all of these things and understand their relationships. I signed up for a course on investing from a guy named Roger, who had been very, very successful in the markets. Roger had run his own hedge fund, and if you're not familiar with what a hedge fund is, it's basically an asset management firm that takes the owner's money along with other investors' money, and they have a lot of latitude to invest in whatever they think is going to get a good return. And so Roger had done this for maybe 20 years, and he had already retired. I think Roger was in his mid to early 50s. He was a down-to-earth, really humble guy, but on the first day of class, he mentioned that he made $10 million in the market the previous year, and he showed us his financial statements. Blew my mind. I mean, $10 million on paper looks pretty cool. That's a lot of zeros. Anyway, he said he was retired and just played investing for sport now, kind of like people play golf. It was just something for him to do. I think Roger had 3 or 4 kids. All of them went to private schools. He went to, I think he had 3 or 4 homes, just to kind of give you a sense of what kind of guy we're talking about here. Anyway, when I saw that he had reached that level of success, I said, man, this is a guy that I really need to spend time with. And I did. Roger became a mentor to me. I hung on to every word that he said for the next 4 months and continued the relationship after the course was over. He introduced me to other successful investors and I learned from them. I read what they told me to read and started to really understand what it meant to be a successful investment professional. I was starting to get it. After meeting with Roger and the guys he introduced me to, I was beginning to really understand what investing was really all about. A few of the things I learned were this. My parents' situation didn't matter. No, I could learn what I needed to learn on my own. In fact, none of the great investors that I met or even read about came from an affluent background. The second thing I learned was that it didn't matter that I wasn't great at math. That was another fear of mine. I could do math. I've done math at a graduate level. But, investing really isn't about that. If I knew 9 was more than 4, I was in good shape. And then fast forward a few years, I was able to successfully use what Roger taught me to get a job on Wall Street. In my work, I've come in contact with some of the greatest investors in the world. I've heard them speak at conferences and dinners. People just like Roger. People who think in terms of billions and not millions. They have more in common with Roger than I suspected they would. And I started to see a trend, a powerful trend. What Roger taught me was that investing was a thought process. More importantly, he taught me that it was a system. I learned that there's a step-by-step method that the best investors use to make tons of money. There's a system that you can learn because I learned it, and I'm here to share it with you. So that's my story, and that's why I'm here. I was just like you, and in many ways I'm still just like you. When I saw the rich guys in the Mercedes, I wanted to be able to understand what they understood and do what they've done. I want my kids to be comfortable and have options in life. I want many things, but I think it all boils down to knowing how to invest wisely and pick stocks so that we can build wealth for ourselves and achieve freedom. That's why I built this site, and I look forward to the journey with you.